We will now call this meeting to order of the California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board for June 21st, 2023. I'll note this is the first day of summer and act accordingly. So this meeting is held in Sacramento and is being broadcast on Zoom. I'm going to do a roll call of the members. Please show that the chair is present. Member Ng.
Present.
Member Kent Monning.
Present.
Member Wojtkowski. I'm here. Great. So could we get approval of the May minutes?
I so move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? We'll take a vote.
Aye.
Wojtkowski?
Aye.
Aye.
Kent Monning? Myself, aye. So we've approved the May 2023 minutes. Please show for the record that the May 2023 minutes have been adopted by the board unanimously. The next part of the agenda is my chair report. First of all, I just want to thank my fellow board members for the very large number of cases that we were able to resolve this past month. The figure I have is that we have 1,592 cases resolved, 524 done on CAMs. And of course, we know that we could not do this large number of cases if it wasn't for the help of our very good appellate staff and the support of the entire agency. So I just wanted to thank all of you for your very good work. I know, as Chair Block used to note, the vast bulk of our work is done outside of these meetings. So it's important to the public to know that essentially we are still in the process of, like almost every part of the world, recovering from the pandemic. A lot of people believe that it's post-pandemic, but I think that we realize that it takes quite a while to recover from a worldwide epidemic, and especially the way it hit our state and this country in terms of the vast number of people dislocated from their employment. So the other thing that I think it would be best to report during my report is that I asked Member Laura Kent Monning if she'd be willing to serve as my vice chair. And to my relief, she did agree to do so. And what I'd like to say regarding that, and I know my other colleagues on the board feel the same way, Laura has been incredibly, I could use the word diligent, but it goes beyond that, diligent and caring and a very, very hard worker. And like all the board members here, and I think it's important for the public to hear this, a great amount of care is taken in our cases to get them right and to be as compassionate as possible and to basically understand that people's lives depend upon our decisions. But I was delighted when Laura said that she would accept the position as vice chair because having served in that position, it's important that there be support for my position for the board and be able to have additional of us board members available to liaison with you at your convenience when you need us for sometimes information or advice in terms of something that comes up. So anyway, Laura, welcome aboard. You've been here a while now, but I'm just delighted that you accepted.
Thank you very much, Chair Allen. Appreciate it. I'm very pleased to be in the role of vice chair and look forward to supporting you and fellow board members and the whole agency in this role. So thank you for asking me.
Thank you. With that, let's go to reports of board members. We'll begin with Member Ng.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, congratulations on your elevation to the chairmanship. And I also wanted to congratulate Vice Chair Kent Monning. It's been a pleasure serving with you, and the Vice Chair and I have, in another life, previous life, similar occupations, similar type of law that we practice, administrative law, and I really appreciate, as the Chair pointed out, your diligence, your work ethic, and your striving to always get it right. And I think that's something that really serves us well, and look forward to future cases with you as our Vice Chair. I also wanted to echo the Chair's appreciation for the work and the people and the progress that have gotten to the point where I think it was, as we'll hear from Chief Kuchar, a high watermark of 38,000 adjudicated cases, which I have not seen in my lifetime on this board. But really, it's like it just takes a village to get that kind of results from the leadership, the judges, the field, and especially the staff and everyone in this. Congratulations, Mr. Chair and Chief Kutri and everyone else for this high water mark. And it's very thrilling to say that I served during that time when it hit there. So I have nothing further to report. Thank you.
Vice Chair Kent Monty.
Thank you, Chair Allen. I did want to just note a couple things at this meeting. First, I'm very much looking forward next week to visiting the LA Office of Appeals for the first time, and just want to thank them for welcoming me. I will be sitting in to observe a portion of the CAMS training going on there. So thanks in advance to everyone there. Looking forward to that, and we'll be able to report back on that next month. And then just to echo a bit what my colleagues have said, the numbers that we have received from May are incredibly impressive, and also highlighting that the additional work that's happening is now slowly but more effectively chipping away at the balance of open cases. And that is tremendous to help the parties waiting for their results and their cases to be heard. And it shows that all the hard work is paying off. So kudos to everybody for that milestone. We've chipped away at that by over 10,000 cases this past month. So that's something to be very proud of. Thank you.
Member Wachowski.
Well, congratulations to Vice Chair Kent Monning and Chair Allen. Everything's official now that we have pretty soon, who knows, we'll have a full team of 5 board members. Being the most recent member here, the discussions that my colleagues have shared about the work ethic of Vice Chair Kent Monning, I'd like to underscore that, italicize it, highlight it, whatever I can do, is saying it's a pleasure to work with everybody on the board. You guys make me a better board member. The work ethic that each and every one of you have, and also our appellate division, is exemplified by the amount of cases that have been closed, and just the attitude that, knowing that the fiscal year is going to end here in a matter of a couple of weeks, that we could just push harder to get those numbers up for the ending the fiscal year and have a good report. I look forward to next fiscal year, and I too want to make some visits to these fields office. Los Angeles with the new CAMS sounds like an exciting transition. So that's all I have to add.
Thank you, Member Wachowski. The next item is there any public comment? I was informed previously there was none. Is there any public comment?
We have no public. Oh, it looks like we do have a public comment.
Okay. So with the agenda number on this agenda item for public comment, essentially we will not respond to any comments. We will listen closely. The time allocated is 5 minutes. And what we'll do is beginning now, you'll have 5 minutes for public comment.
I have Richard Miller, and I will allow him to talk now. Mr. Miller, please introduce yourself to the board and proceed.
Thank you. I'm just encouraging you all to follow the mandate of your position as the board members, as judges, as attorneys, as employees of the state of California. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any further public comment?
We have no additional hands raised for public comment at this time.
Thank you very much. And we're going to move on to the report from our Chief Executive Officer, Chief LJ, Michael Kutri, who's going to be giving us a lot of good work, good news about the good work being done at the field level, which is, in my a technical legal term, awesome. So go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair Allen and board members. Chair Allen, I want to start by saying that the agency is incredibly fortunate that you will continue your great work with us as our official board chair, and that will benefit from your vast experience and understanding of the organization. You've been a tremendous supporter of field operations during your entire term at CUIAB. and I look forward to continuing our good work together. Vice Chair Kent Monning, it's been an extreme pleasure working with you since you came on board and I took on this position. Your engagement is at a very, very high level in the organization, and we've really benefited from that, especially, but not limited to, the CAMS project. So thank you for visiting Los Angeles next week. They're looking forward to it, so you can see what it looks like from the field judge's perspective, and hopefully that will assist the appellate perspective as well. I'd like to give you a little bit of good news. It's not often. Over the last 3 years, we've been able to deliver that. But the field did offer, or author rather, over 38,000 decisions, as was mentioned by Member Eng a couple minutes ago. That monthly decision output in May was the largest since June of 2013. Correct, Member Eng, you would not have seen that, given your relatively recent appointment since that time, but it is a high water mark for us over the last decade. So it's something for the field to be proud of. Meanwhile, and importantly, incoming monthly appeals continued their 5-month decline, hovering at about 1% of the month before that. So that is also very welcome news. As a result of both of those factors, our open inventory of cases dropped by almost 11,000 in May. That is a reduction in 1 month of 7.3% of our open unemployment insurance inventory. That marks 16% of a reduction since February 1st. So it's the first time we've seen this kind of progress in 3 years. It seemed like it would grow forever, but we're finally in a trend that shows that our backlog is reducing at pretty market levels. As you'll recall from our last meeting, our average case age, which is such an important measure at the Department of Labor level, rose from 139 days to 144 days in April. But in May, that corrected. It measured 138 days. So it continued on its downward trend that we were experiencing before. California still compares very favorably to the national average case age of 194 days. There may be some brief variations in the months ahead, but it is expected that the case age will continue to drop through 2023 as appeals are fewer and the field continues its elevated production. Because we still have a tremendous amount of parties waiting for appeal resolution, combined with the prospect of an economic downturn, we continue to recruit new staff and judges to our smaller field offices. We're in efforts to place an additional 10 to 15 ALJs in field offices throughout the state with our current recruitments. The 17th training cohort is underway as we speak, and the 18th cohort is scheduled to commence in late July. Ever-present CAMS updates. Jefferson will give you some more information in a couple of minutes, but I would like to mention that the CAMS team has been in Los Angeles for the last several weeks preparing for the rollout to its judges next week. They will leave that office at the end of next week fully integrated in CAMS, and they'll move on to the Inglewood office for its rollout. Those are big offices, so that's a huge mark for us to accomplish. Being that Los Angeles is one of the largest offices in the state, it will substantially increase the amount of parties able to utilize the digital access on the portal, and will also allow us to move and manage cases much more nimbly in the digital environment. That was one of the primary goals that we set out to accomplish. Since the last meeting, I met with the U.S. Department of Labor, Region 6. That's comprising the western states and territories. We discussed our progress on the backlog and confirmed our strategies to reduce it. I also met with National Department of Labor representatives to share best practices and strategies utilized by both California and all of the other states. Those meetings are ongoing, so they will continue in earnest over the next month at least, including next week at the National Conference of the Association of Unemployment Insurance Appeals Professionals in Denver. DOL will be present there and have ample representation, so we'll get to discuss national UI strategies and trends. Since our last meeting, there's one security incident to report. A former employee, quite some time ago, a former employee, that person recently made unwelcome contact with our current staff on May 24th at the Sacramento office. Appropriate authorities were contacted and the communications have ended, so we do believe that has stabilized. And I have nothing further to report at this meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Member Eng.
Oh, yes, thank you. Director Kuchar, again, congratulations to you and the team on the 38,000 plus cases. I have, the cases that I have seen reflect a tremendous amount of skill and deliberation and knowledge compressed often in a short period of time and deadlines. So this number of cases is greatly significant and to be widely appreciated. Thank you very much. I have nothing further to add.
Okay. Turn to member Kent Monty, Vice Chair Kent Monty.
Too long to say with all those names. Thank you, Chair Allen. No questions, Chief Kuchar, just thank you. And kudos to everyone in leadership and everyone, all the staff throughout the agency. To see these numbers is really, a moment to be proud of, and hopefully this trend continues. So thank you for the good report.
Member Wachowski.
I have no questions. It's very good numbers. They tell the story.
Well, I have no questions, but I would make a couple of comments. I was actually here during the last high water mark. So I don't have the exact figures, but just for the benefit of the public or anybody listening, I mean, during the height of the pandemic, I believe it was somewhere over 270% of what our normal caseload was. And so for the public to understand the vast influx of cases and need we were facing with the pandemic, and now, even with us making progress and working down our caseloads, we're a mere 30% plus over what our traditional historical caseload has been. And so I just wanted to give that to context for the public because it's been an incredible, I've mentioned in previous meetings that this agency has been stress tested. I was here during the Great Recession where there was a stress test for this, and then we thought that was a stress test. We weren't ready for the 100-year pandemic. And so this agency, as I've said before, has come through. And sometimes we talked about it being held together with baling wire, and some people didn't know what baling wire was, but we did hold together. And basically, we're not quite in blue sky yet, but we're getting there. So thank you. Now we'll move to our appellate judge, Rebecca Bach, supervising administrative law judge.
Excuse me. Good afternoon, Chair Allen, Vice Chair Kent Monning. I like the sound of that. And board. So I'm just going to report on the second level numbers. In order to meet our Department of Labor DOL guidelines, we are to close 50% of our cases within 45 days, and this last month, for the month of May, we closed 43.8% of our cases, making our year-to-date average 54%. Nice. We are to close 80% of our cases within 75 days. This last month, we closed 84.7% within the 75 days, making our year average so far 86%. So we've met both of those numbers. And then good news to report on our case aging, which is to meet DOL guidelines. We're supposed to have an average case aging of 40 days or less, and we are at 33.8. So I'm very proud of those numbers. Thank you. That's my whole report.
Okay, thank you. Member Ring, any questions?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Judge Bach, thank you again. Kudos to you for the referrals that we have to some cases. You've been lightning quick in getting back to the panel, which helps us to adhere to the deadlines. But more importantly, I appreciate the fact that you're willing to entertain the idea that these cases are not just one-off, and sometimes they may suggest boilerplate that we can use for similar cases. And I appreciate that, because otherwise we are in danger of reinventing the wheel again and again. And I think that your openness to those, perhaps a standard paragraph or boilerplate, if you will, really makes sense. I want to thank you for that.
Vice Chair Kent Monty.
Thank you. No questions, just thank you, Supervising Judge Bach, for that report. The numbers look great, and to everyone at Appellate Operations, it's just so clear the amount of work and time that goes into it and the willingness to engage with the board members when we're deep in a case. And it's just really nice to see these numbers reflecting all that hard work. So thanks to everybody.
Member Wachowski.
No, I have nothing to add. The Vice Chair and Member Ing have sort of touched on everything.
Well, no questions, but I will make a comment. And my comment is that when I had a number of conversations with you when you first started this job, and you were talking about having large shoes to fill. And I told you would make your own shoes, and you would find the way to do the job in your own way. And I think I can speak for myself and all the board members that you're very appreciated, very approachable, and a resource to the entire agency. And for that, I thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Chair Allen. I think everyone would say the same about you.
So we'll move it on to, I will not call him Bobby today, although I did right now. So Mr. Robert Silva, Administrative Services.
Wanted to do Jefferson first. I'm happy
It's
to go.
okay, really.
I'm happy to go first.
No, you're not going to get out of it. I'm dyslexic. You can go, and then I'll go to Jefferson.
That sounds fantastic.
Mixing it up.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Allen and board members. Firstly, to address Chair Allen, over the last, it's almost been a decade, I want to say, you've been an important part of the board, obviously. You helped direct us through extremely difficult fiscal times, your first 4 years here at the board. So the entire agency, I assume, is grateful for that and everything else you've done in the ensuing years. So you've always been supportive of admin, so we're really excited to have you in your role as chair.
Okay.
And also to VCKM. When you came to the board, I was right at the beginning of this now ongoing COVID-19 related workload surge, and you've been key in shepherding us through that and the correlating issues. So we're appreciative of that and happy to see you in your role as vice chair.
Thank you.
With that, a very short report today. A quick update on ALJ recruitments. We did hire in the month of June 2 into our Fresno Office of Appeals and 1 in our Oxnard Office of Appeals, and we're expecting another one in our Oxnard office fairly soon. Those 3 judges, as well as a 4th judge who was the final hire of the previous statewide recruitment, began, as Mr. Kutry said, the cohort 17 training last Thursday. We also have had 2 hires in San Jose and 1 in the Bay Area slated for July, that will take part in the late July cohort 18. We haven't quite finished up the interview process for the Orange County and Sacramento recruitments, but hopefully we can get some of those in time to meet that late July cohort. If not, they'll be part of the next training cohort. With regard to support staff hiring, there hasn't been a lot of support staff activity following the last board meeting. We had a tenure conversion in our San Jose office. We also had a promotion in San Jose, a promotion in appellate, but no new support staff joining in the last 4 weeks. Also during that period, we did have 4 support staff separate from CUIAB. So as you can imagine, we now have a fairly high level of pending recruitments for support staff statewide. We have 34 in field operations and 2 in appellate operations pending. And I apologize if I'm stealing Mr. Willoughby's thunder, but we did have 2 IT backfill hires begin in June, which is great news. With regard to COVID-19 cases, we only had 1 reported case over the last 4 weeks. And then finally, all 44 bilingual employees that participated in last month's biannual audit have reported back, and they did utilize their bilingual skills over the 10% threshold to continue to receive the bilingual pay differential. And that's my report. Happy to take any questions.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Chief Silva. Thank you for the report, and especially the segment on the those that have bilingual skills. So I take it that they go through an audit process to make sure that they can receive their the additional stipend. That consists of a test, or
Every November and every May, we have them, for the duration of those entire month, they do a time ladder. So they record what the telephone calls they're taking, the written interpretation work the translation work that they're doing. And it's turned in every May and every November. And at the end of the May period, which is the end of the applicable fiscal year, we take the November period and May period audit results, blend them together, and that is what will determine whether or not there would be a discontinuation of bilingual pay.
And I take it from your report that that was 100% compliance.
100% compliance, yeah.
Extremely important to our administration, due process, especially in the state and during these times. Really appreciate it. The last question is there any update on the May revise in terms of any impacts on our budget?
The only update I can provide from the last board meeting is that you had specifically inquired as to whether or not there would be any reductions in staffing or pay for staffing, and there will not be. As far as statewide, there will not be reduction in pay. CUIAB-wise, there will not be a significant reduction for us as far as our personnel budget or our O&E budget. And we're in the process right now of kind of finalizing our internal allocations so that we can present the budget to the board probably during the August meeting.
Okay, I look forward to that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, Vice Chair Kent Money, you have any questions?
No, thank you, Chief Silva, for that report. I don't have any questions, but thanks to you and your team.
I hope your new title is not constraining you. So
It's adding significant time to our board meetings, this title, so we'll have to figure that out.
Member Wykowski.
Director Silva, as we go through this roller coaster on, acute unemployment augmented by the pandemic, and then regular unemployment, and then low unemployment, when we're projecting next year, 2024 and beyond, to hire folks, what number are you using as far as to right size the agency for slots?
Well, there are a few factors. We're using projected workload figures put together by a trickle down from the Employment Development Department's incoming claims, which are still showing high for next year. When there is a decrease in overall unemployment insurance claims, it still takes a couple of years or more to trickle through our system. So we're, for the near future, seeing a significant amount of workload with no reduction, in theory, with a budget for positions or operating expenses.
I just thought that the pandemic, as somebody indicated, 207% more cases than just normal. That's a hard to right size an agency that is going to get this tidal wave, and then presumably some of that water is going to recede. Hopefully.
That is absolutely correct. And one thing we're very careful for with regard to hiring, and we hire a lot of people in limited term positions and convert them to permanent positions when we see attrition, always keeping an eye towards the eventual ebb of workload so that we don't have to engage in a workload reduction in force, which would essentially mean layoff.
No other questions, Chair Allen.
Thank you. And you're very astute. It is a challenge to right size the agency, because believe me, when we have to expand rapidly, that has its own set of issues. And then when it starts contracting, as more and more people go back to work, that has very important issues to deal with as well. So thank you for bringing that up as an issue, right sizing. It's a challenge. The only thing I would say, it's just a comment. There's a picture out there of Mr. Silva, and he looks like maybe he was 16 or 18 when he began work with the agency. And I just want to thank you that, really seriously, long-term service to the state of California, the people of California, it's honorable and admirable. And, so I just wanted to mention that to you, because every once I do look at that picture and go, he hasn't changed a bit.
Thank you.
My apologies for going out of order. And we do want to hear from our IT department, our czar of IT. I know that's not your official title, but please, Jefferson, give us your report.
Well, good afternoon and congratulations, Chair Allen and Vice Chair Ken Monning, members of the board. I too have a brief update this month on our continued training and a report on our engagement with our stabilization vendor. This month, we're delivering staff training in our Los Angeles office. Our office staff have already completed their training, and our ALJs will be having their training next week. Inglewood is our next slated office. That'll take place in July and very early August. I'm pleased to report that the mitigations that we put in place for scheduling and document generation continue to hold. While we onboard the stabilization vendor and give them an opportunity to analyze both what is in place and familiarize themselves with our business processes, we're still operating as we should. We recently sent out a survey to our subject matter experts on the highest priority issues that people are facing as they work within CAMS today. And we have used that input to seed the content for the vendor's first level efforts. So we're going to take the things that bother people the most about the system, not losing sight of our two major issues in document generation and scheduling, and work on them first. So we're prioritizing based on the largest pain points in the system today. We're now meeting multiple times per week with the vendor, oftentimes multiple times per day, to accelerate their understanding of what is in place today and where we want to see them at the end of this stabilization engagement, which will last up to a year. We're really fortunate that this vendor has experience in unemployment and disability insurance already. So we are already several steps ahead in that we get to speak a common language and talk about business process and regulatory framework with a vendor that already understands much of it. Based on the velocity that I've seen, and now we're really in our very first month or several weeks of talking with this vendor, I'm really looking forward to reporting a lot of positive progress over the course of the next year. We at this time don't anticipate changes to our existing rollout schedule. So it looks like we're going to continue to train on new elements that come into the system, but we'll do that in parallel with the existing rollout schedule. So we're still looking right around the end of this year to complete the office introduction into CAMS. So I think that this is feeling like it's good news. I think it is good news. We're going to see some material improvements in the way that CAMS performs and have it easier to use up to a year from now than it is today. So that's my report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for your report, and I'll turn it over to Member Ring.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Chief Willoughby, I just wanted to commend you. I believe from what reports been hearing that we expect to integrate the entire CAM system into all of our offices by the end of the year. Is that still?
It is.
I've served in 4 different governmental agencies, local and otherwise, and each one of them involved some type of transitional software and hardware, and this would be the first in which I've ever heard the words uttered on time and within budget. So glad to hear that we're still there, or generally those words. Thank you.
And do you have questions?
No questions, just thank you, Chief Willoughby, to you and everyone. You know, the work with this vendor, as you say, over a year, I think, you know, that's a lot of work, but this is where we can build this system to do what we need to do. So to hear that this vendor has experience in the subject matter of what we do and can speak a similar language is just really, really a great sign to have the hard work be put in now to build this system the way that we need it to be built. So thanks to you and everyone who's spending the time. I know the lists are long for how we want it to be improved, but still just the fact that we have a system now where the parties. You see what they're submitting, you can see what their appeals are. They have so much more insight throughout the whole process. And that still is something I think to be very proud of and appreciative for, that we have that now in place and continue to roll it out by the end of the year. So thank you.
Yes, Member Wachowski.
I have no technology questions at this time.
Well, I have no questions either. Just a big thank you. I'm always grateful when the technology works, and when it doesn't, it's important to be patient, right? So thank you. And so I think that concludes reports. I'll turn to our board counsel and ask our board counsel, do we have any closed session items for today?
Thank you, Chair Allen. We do not.
Well, hearing that we have no further business in closed session, I'll declare this meeting adjourned.